Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hi, preschool peeps. How come every time we start to record, I get an itch somewhere? I don't know what. I always get an itch on my face. All right. Anyway, the title of the episode says feelings, permission granted. So I guess it's okay for me to deal with that itch.
Totally okay for you to talk about too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to, scratch my face while Alison talks about who's been listening, who's in our statistics.
So hello to everyone in Metro Manila, Philippines. Hope you're doing well. And also shout out to Royal Oak, Michigan.
We love shouting these locations out.
It's my favorite part.
I have to tell you folks, it is so much fun to go into our statistics, see how the podcast is doing, and see the long lists of where we're being listened to internationally.
Yeah.
We never ever imagined that more than 6 years into this podcast, we would have garnered such a loyal international audience, and we thank you. We have gone through so many starts, stops, bumps, curves, especially because we continued to do this podcast during the pandemic.
Yes.
And in the beginning, frankly, we had no idea what we were doing. And now, more than 6 years later, we marginally know what we're doing. And so we appreciate the fact that you appreciate the unpolished nature of what we put out in the world. We're not trying to be perfect. You know what?
Yeah.
We don't expect anybody to be perfect, and lack of perfection is fine.
Yes.
It is great to know when you have stumbled, to know when something might have been done incorrectly, and to change that.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, the title of this episode is Feelings, Permission Granted. We have talked in a variety of ways on this podcast over the past more than 6 years about the fact that it's important that children can express their feelings.
Yeah.
And I recently had a conversation with someone who shared with me a very profound truth. We were talking about when we were young, we weren't taught how to handle things like anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes a struggle when you're an adult. And I said, we weren't taught really how to handle it when you're nervous,
right,
or scared,
yeah,
or any level of anxious or other emotions, frankly.
Yeah.
And that other person turned to me and said, well, yeah, we were just taught to hide it better. And I thought that statement, that we were taught to hide it better,
yes,
was so true for me. I don't know about for any of you.
For me too. For multiple different things, I was hiding. I think I hid my whole life.
Certainly it can be a gender issue.
Yeah.
Maybe in the past, girls were taught it's okay to express your feelings, but boys were taught to hide it.
Yes.
And very often we find as adults that plays out.
Yeah.
That there are men who don't feel comfortable expressing their feelings, and it takes them years to be willing to cry in front of someone.
Yes.
Right. And again, I just thought it was so profound that we were taught, many of us were taught, instead of here's what you do when you're nervous, or here's something to think about,
right,
or here's a way to change that talk in your head that is making you so nervous. Instead of being taught that, we were taught and granted by people who did not know better. They didn't know better, but we were basically taught to hide it better. Statements like, stop, you'll be okay, teaches you to hide it. Statements like, this too shall pass. That may be true.
Yes.
It may be true that this too shall pass. And it's something that I say to myself to comfort myself. But when you're a young child and people keep telling you this too shall pass, sometimes children hear, stop emoting. Stop showing us what you're feeling. Doesn't matter because life's going to go on after this. So just hide it better.
Yeah, you're worrying about something that's not going to be here soon, basically.
Which is the case.
But I feel like that's the thing is like when we were taught to hide, we weren't given a healthy inner dialogue to deal with it, right? So then now these cliches or these whatever they're called mottos or whatever are in our head. And as a child, I don't even think I knew what that when you said this too shall pass. I'm like, I don't okay. So like, but then that becomes the inner dialogue. You're like, I guess that's what I'm supposed to be like when I'm anxious, but it's not.
Don't you think there's a difference between saying, oh, this too shall pass or something like that?
Yeah.
Between that and saying, I understand why you're scared.
Yeah.
Most people would be scared.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be scared. Just know that this feeling isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
This situation is going to change. Situations always change. If there's anything that we can predict about life, it's that it's going to change.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's how we teach it to children. And I think saying to children, when you're scared, you can think of another time you were scared and it worked out. You know, there are times when I'm scared about things having to do with myself, and I have to remind myself how many times I was scared about something very similar and it never turned out to be something as big as I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's anxiety for you.
Yeah, that's anxiety for you. But to say to children, you know, I know this can be scary, and I understand why you're scared. It's okay to be scared.
Yeah.
All our feelings come and go, but it's okay to feel scared right now. It's okay to feel upset right now. It's okay to feel anxious right now.
Yeah.
And to teach them the ways that they can comfort themselves or calm their bodies. You know, I know you're scared right now, so let's take a deep breath. Let's kind of center ourselves. Let's take a deep breath and calm our body down.
Yeah.
To say to young children, I know you're scared. What does it feel like in your body to be scared? What does your body feel like?
I think teaching them about this is important, right? Because I don't think like, what does your body feel like when you're scared? Gives it more meaning, which I know you don't want to give a lot of meaning to the anxiety, but I think it helps to learn how to deal with it.
I think we do want to give the meaning to the anxiety.
Yeah.
I think we want to have children able to say something about being scared, being fearful, being anxious.
Yeah.
I'm anxious because I remember when I was a child, we moved a lot. And I remember one particular first day of school in a new school. And it was the middle of the school year. People already had their friend groups.
Yeah.
And I was still an early learner. I was in third grade. That's still early learner. And I remember being terrified, and I remember being at the bus stop terrified and feeling like I was going to vomit from this fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember my heart racing, and I remember having to get on this bus anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's valuable to teach children when you have that feeling, pay attention to the sounds around you. Close your eyes for a second. Pay attention to the sounds around you. Like, because that stimulates the senses, tends to calm that feeling, those chemicals coursing through your body. Pay attention to the sounds around you. Pay attention to what you see. Take a deep breath. That can help calm your body. I'm not saying you shouldn't be scared. I'm saying here are some things that can calm your body.
Yeah.
You have permission to be scared, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to be scared. You can calm your body down by doing this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because we were definitely not taught any of that. And I think we need to teach these children that.
I remember even feeling at that bus stop, I remember feeling scared that I was so scared. There was like, there's a whirlwind that happens around emotions.
I felt that way because of how feelings were approached when we were children.
Yes.
Okay, so like you were scared about being scared because you shouldn't have been scared because our parents were probably like, what are you scared about? It's just school, right? And really, and then that gives you more anxiety because you're like, oh my God, I'm not even supposed to be scared about this. And now I am. And it's like just perpetuates this problem. It's like a big snowball.
It's true. When you're not given permission for whatever it is you feel,
Yes.
you think there's something wrong with you.
Yes. Yes. I went years thinking something was wrong with me because I had feelings.
Children can think there's something wrong with them. So instead of saying, don't be scared, say, here's what you can do to calm your body. Where do you feel it in your body? And teach them something very specific. Like for me, when I'm scared, I often feel it in my stomach. And I'll feel it, like I'll feel my heart race and I'll feel it in my stomach. And so for me, doing something like paying attention to the sights and sounds that are in my environment, focusing in my vision on one little thing and taking a deep breath can sort of make that feeling in my gut calm down a little bit. For other people, it might be when I'm scared, I feel it in my shoulders and my back.
Or my chest sometimes.
Right.
My chest. So I'm like, let me take a really deep breath just because I think it's my lungs really going crazy, honestly. But like, let me breathe and just concentrate on my breathing and not concentrate on anything else.
So you can teach children to concentrate on the sounds. What do you hear around you? If you hear a bird singing, if you hear a car go by, really concentrate on that sound. It helps to calm your body.
Yes.
To say to a child something like, take deep breaths. If it's like your breathing is becoming shallow or your heart is racing, take deep breaths. So instead of saying, don't feel this way, or this is going to pass, or, the age old, you're being silly, or it's going to be fine by the time you get home.
There's nothing to be scared about.
There's nothing to be scared about. Or, when you get there, you'll be fine. You know what? That might be the case, but right now I'm not fine. So when I'm not fine, I need to know what to do with it. Or when a child is angry, to say to them, when you feel that feeling, like, what does it feel in your body to be angry? Because it's different for different people.
Yeah.
What does your body feel? Where do you feel it in your body to be angry? Well, here's something that you can do to soothe that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. But I think anger is one of those feelings that people are like, you're not supposed to be mad. And like, I teach the kids like, it's okay to be mad.
You can be mad.
But I think when we were kids, it was like, not okay to be mad.
It's years ago that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood did the, what do you do with the mad that you feel?
Yeah, but was my family watching that?
No. I'm going to guess no.
Yeah.
So I think what we're coming down to in this episode, folks, is grant permission for their feelings. Don't try to negate the feelings. And instead teach them what to do to calm their bodies.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen so many of these techniques. Early learners are taught so many of these really cool techniques now for calming their body. One time I was observing a class, and a little girl was upset, and the wonderful teacher working with her said to her, do you remember when you feel this way, what we said you could do? And she held up her index finger and was blowing on it. And the teacher said, that's right. You can blow out the candle when you feel that way.
I used to teach the kids all sorts of different breathing things.
Yeah.
Like there were different animals mostly, like, and they loved it. And then I'd be like, okay, which one are you going to do? And they would do, and there was like 10 of them, like the whole snake breathe, like there was a whole bunch of them. But I remember doing the candle one was like, oh, pretend this is a candle, blow it out. Or there's a bunch of them. And then it helps because sometimes like when they're in a state where they need to breathe, you could be like, oh, let's do that. Like it's a visual that they can pull up in their head and be like, oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying to breathe, it's like, oh, let's pretend to be snakes and breathe like snakes, and it slows them down, gives them something to think about that's different.
It's often the breath that makes a difference. Even when a child is frustrated, to say to them, here's what you can do when your body feels that way.
Right.
Here's what you can do to calm a little bit, to feel a little bit calmer. And it's okay to be frustrated.
Right.
Right. And we need to ensure that we calm our bodies down, because so much of a child's outward or inward reaction to their feelings has to do with the body being out of control. We feel emotions. They're called feelings, right?
Yes.
We're having feelings. We are feeling something.
Yeah.
And the emotions are always reflected in your body.
Yeah.
Think, folks, how you feel when you feel joyful, when you feel happy, when you feel excited, when you feel sad, when you feel mad, and when you feel frustrated or scared. there are different sensations in the body.
Yeah.
So there are some sensations that I wish would last forever. When I am super excited about something, it's such a great
Yeah.
feeling. I don't need to mitigate that. When I
Yeah.
am feeling joyful, I don't need to mitigate that. You should ride that joyful
Ride
feeling,
the wave.
ride it for as long as you
Yeah.
can, because life can be tough. So just
Yeah.
ride it.
Yeah.
But there are other feelings that we don't so much want to ride and we don't know what to do
Yes.
with. And
Yeah.
when we start to feel like I hate this feeling and we start fighting this feeling in our bodies, it just becomes worse.
Yes. Yes. And you can make yourself unhealthy
Yeah.
by keeping that tension in your body.
Yeah, because it raises the level of certain
Yeah.
chemicals and stuff in your bloodstream, like
Yeah.
cortisol.
Yeah.
There is so much information out there now about the impact of consistently high cortisol levels in your
Yeah.
bloodstream when you're a child.
Yeah.
That I want to go back and kind of be like, folks, look what you did to all of us. The consistently high cortisol levels in your bloodstream cause later disease.
Yeah, it does.
So we want children not to feel like they have to hide their feelings, but instead to understand how to calm that physical reaction down so that the cortisol is not damaging them.
Yes.
And so that they feel they have a little control. We can't always control how we feel. Like when I was that little girl at the bus stop, of course I was going to be scared.
Yeah.
I would be scared.
Yeah.
So it's not that the being scared is something that you should necessarily learn to put away and control. It's okay, let's get past this body feeling a little bit, understand, make room for being scared. Right. But understand that I can calm my body so that I don't feel like I'm going to throw up at this bus stop.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So when you are with children, grant them the permission by teaching them, what does this feeling feel like? How can I calm my body while I still feel this feeling? Right. Well, I still feel this emotion.
Yes.
For however long it lasts.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think we've landed in a good place.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know what any of you think out there in all these places that we're shouting out. But we like it. And I do sometimes get people in my professional development sessions commenting, particularly like on Zoom in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be like, love your podcast. Happened to me the other day, by the way, Alison. Yeah. Love your podcast.
Yeah.
Find Cindy's podcast. So thank you for loving our podcast. If you don't love the podcast, that's okay too, because remember, you're entitled to your feelings. So you can just go listen to somebody else.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Podcasts
out there. Yeah.
you can pick, but we're happy to say that we're always in the tops of the ratings of the early childhood podcasts. So we thank you for that. We're glad that you're enjoying it if you're still with us. And we want you to continue to be with us when next week we are going to basically shout out another segment of early education that I don't think we've talked enough about.
Yeah.
So come back and find out. Catch you next time.